is distribution. The probability density function is f of x equals 1 over b minus a for x in the interval a to b. What's the formula for the Bernoulli distribution? B of x equals k equals b to the k times 1 minus b to the 1 minus k, where k is 0 or 1. What's the formula for the binomial distribution? B of x equals k equals n choose k times b to the k times 1 minus b to the n minus k. What's the formula for the normal distribution? F of x equals 1 over sigma root 2 pi times e to the negative x minus mu squared over 2 sigma squared. What's the formula for the Poisson distribution? B of x equals k equals lambda to the k times e to the negative lambda over k factorial. What's the formula for the exponential distribution? F of x equals lambda e to the negative lambda x for x greater than or equal to 0. What's the formula for the geometric distribution? B of x equals k equals 1 minus b to the k minus 1 times b. What's the formula for the negative binomial distribution? B of x equals k equals k minus 1 choose r minus 1 times b to the r times 1 minus b to the k minus r. What's the formula for the log normal distribution? F of x equals 1 over x sigma root 2 pi times e to the negative natural log x minus mu squared over 2 sigma squared. What's the formula for the multinomial distribution? P process has exactly two outcomes with fixed probability. Model a single trial. Bernoulli distribution. Count the number of successes in a fixed number of independent trials. Binomial distribution. Count occurrences across multiple categories in fixed trials. Multinomial distribution. Model continuous values where all outcomes in a range are equally likely. Uniform distribution. Model a symmetric bell-shaped distribution arising from additive processes. Normal distribution. Model positive only values from multiplicative processes with right skew. Log normal distribution. Count trials needed until the first success occurs. Geometric distribution. Count trials needed until a fixed number of successes occur. Negative binomial distribution. Count rare events occurring at a constant rate in fixed intervals. Poisson distribution. Model waiting time between events in a memoryless process. Exponential distribution. A bus arrives randomly somewhere in a 20-minute window. Every moment is equally likely. Uniform distribution. Counting the number of heads in 10 coin flips. Binomial distribution. The time between customer arrivals at a store. Exponential distribution. Whether a single customer makes a purchase, yes or no. Bernoulli distribution. The number of emails received in an hour given an average rate. Poisson distribution. How many dice rolls until you get your first 6? Geometric distribution. Test scores where most students score near the average. Normal distribution. Stock prices that can go negative and show compound growth. Log normal distribution. Rolling a die 20 times and counting how many 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s appear. Multinomial distribution. How many sales calls until you make your 5th sale? Negative binomial distribution. What parameters are needed for a binomial distribution in quality control testing? N, the number of trials, and P, the probability of defect. What parameters are needed for a Poisson distribution for website visits? Lambda, the average rate of visits. What parameters are needed for a normal distribution for human heights? Mu, the mean height, and sigma, the standard deviation. What parameters are needed for an exponential distribution for machine lifetime? Lambda, the failure rate, or equivalently 1 over lambda, the mean lifetime. What parameters are needed for a uniform distribution for random number generation? A, the lower bound, and B, the upper bound. What is the mean of a binomial distribution? Mean equals NB. What is the mean of a Poisson distribution? Mean equals lambda. What is the mean of a geometric distribution? Mean equals 1 over B. What is the mean of an exponential distribution? Mean equals 1 over lambda. What is the mean of a Bernoulli distribution? Mean equals B. A factory produces items with a 2% defect rate. You want to model whether one randomly selected item is defective. Which distribution should you use? Bernoulli distribution. This is a single trial with 2 outcomes, defective or not defective. The same factory inspects 100 items. You want to know the probability of finding exactly 3 defective items. Which distribution should you use? Binomial distribution. Fixed number of trials, 100. Counting successes, defects. A call center receives calls at an average rate of 10 per hour. You want to know the probability of receiving exactly 5 calls in the next 30 minutes. Which distribution should you use? Poisson distribution, counting events in a fixed time interval given an average rate. You want to know how long you'll wait for the next call at that same call center. Which distribution should you use? Exponential distribution, time between Poisson events. A basketball player makes 70% of free throws. You want to know how many attempts until the first successful shot. Which distribution should you use? Geometric distribution, number of trials until first success. Is the normal distribution symmetric? Yes. Does the exponential distribution have a memoryless property? Yes. For the Poisson distribution, does the mean equal the variance? Yes. Can the log normal distribution have negative values? Number always positive. Does the binomial distribution require a fixed number of trials? Yes. As trials in a binomial distribution approach infinity and probability approaches 0, while keeping NP constant, it becomes which distribution? Poisson distribution. If a random variable x follows a normal distribution, then e to the x follows which distribution? Log normal distribution. The geometric distribution is a special case of which distribution? When r equals 1, negative binomial distribution. If events follow a Poisson process, the time between events follows which distribution? Exponential distribution. The sum of multiple independent Bernoulli trials gives which distribution? Binomial distribution. Income distribution in a population tends to have a long right tail. Which distribution? Log normal distribution. Measurement errors in scientific experiments. Which distribution? Normal distribution. Number of typos per page in a book. Which distribution? Poisson distribution. Time until a radioactive atom decays. Which distribution? Exponential distribution. Selecting a random number between 0 and 1. Which distribution? Uniform distribution. What is the variance of a binomial distribution? Variance equals NB times 1 minus B. What is the variance of a Poisson distribution? Variance equals lambda. What is the variance of a geometric distribution? Variance equals 1 minus B over B squared. What is the variance of an exponential distribution? Variance equals 1 over lambda squared. What is the variance of a Bernoulli distribution? Variance equals B times 1 minus B. A website has has a 3% click-through rate on ads. Model whether a single visitor clicks an ad. Bernoulli distribution. Out of 500 website visitors, how many will click the ad? Binomial distribution. Customers arrive at a bank at an average rate of 20 per hour. Model the number arriving in 15 minutes. Poisson distribution. How long until the next customer arrives at that bank? Exponential distribution. A lottery scratch card has a 1 in 20 chance of winning. How many cards until your first win? Geometric distribution. How many scratch cards to get 3 wins? Negative binomial distribution. A die is rolled once. Model the outcome. Uniform discrete distribution. Heights of adult males in a large population. Normal distribution. City populations. Some very large, most small to medium. Log normal distribution. A survey has 3 responses. Agree 50%, neutral 30%, disagree 20%. In 10 responses, model the count of each. Multinomial distribution. Which distribution is called the bell curve? Normal distribution. Which distribution models time until failure with constant hazard rate? Exponential distribution. Which discrete distribution has mean equals variance? Poisson distribution. Which distribution is the continuous version of the geometric? Exponential distribution. Which distribution results from the central limit theorem? Normal distribution. Number of defective items in a batch of 50. Binomial distribution. Time for a computer to process a request. Exponential distribution if constant rate, or log normal if multiplicative factors. SAT scores across all test takers. Normal distribution. 0 and 360 degrees. Uniform distribution. Number of red, white, and blue marbles drawn from a bag. Multinomial distribution. What distribution has PDF? F of x equals 1 over b minus a. Uniform distribution. What distribution has exactly 2 possible outcomes? Bernoulli distribution. What distribution extends binomial to more than 2 categories? Multinomial distribution. What distribution models the log of a log normal variable? Normal distribution. What distribution has parameter lambda representing rate? Poisson or exponential distribution. What distribution uses n choose k in its formula? Binomial distribution. What distribution has variance equals 1 minus p over p squared? Geometric distribution. What distribution models time between Poisson events? Exponential distribution. What distribution has the 68, 95, 99.7 rule? Normal distribution. What distribution models multiplicative growth processes? Log normal distribution.